Well, welcome to the Ides of December. Our insiders, Chris Johnston and Elliotte Friedman, and we certainly need some news. We need to figure out what is going on as we've hit the midpoint of December, and still no deal in place and no official start to the new season. So, what's going on, Elliotte?
Look, I think these things, they just take time. If you've ever been in any kind of major negotiation, whether it's for a house or buying anything where you need to involve lawyers, it takes time. And you go back and forth on issues, you make sure they're right. If there's anything that's a problem, you send it back, you rewrite it. And I think that's kind of what's going on right now. And there's some important stuff here. Talking about protocols, what happens if, unfortunately somebody tests positive, the transition dates. I do think that one of the other issues that is difficult is the whole American Hockey League taxi squad expanded roster idea, how that's all going to work. I think these are things that aren't the biggest or sexiest topics, Dave, but they take time to work out, and you've got to make sure they're accurate. And I think the next time they go to the players and the board of governors, they want to be able to say, all right, this is what you're going to be voting on. We're going to show it to you now. And it's a grind. You just have to get through it.
It is a grind, Elliot. But, one thing I was told late Tuesday afternoon is that everyone still believes that this can be wrapped up by Friday. And, obviously time is of the essence. You have these two competing forces. One is that it is complex and difficult. The second, of course, is that the dates still haven't changed. From what I'm hearing, they're still focused on early January start to training camp and a January 13th start the regular season. And as we're here in mid-December, players have started traveling back to various markets. They're serving quarantines, but there still are players in Europe, and there's players, for example, the Montreal Canadiens, where they don't even know if they can have training camp at this point in Montreal. They haven't got any sort of clearance from the Quebec government, where those players don't know what to do at all. And so there's a ton of hurdles here and not much time to overcome them. But, the first big one would be the NHL and the NHLPA finalizing this agreement, putting it to a vote of their memberships, and being able to get these dates locked in stone.
All right, listen, the big hurdle, the first one is to get that schedule and get the CBA, or however this agreement wants to be termed, ratified. But then the second massive hurdle is this pandemic. And let's face facts, in the weeks following U.S. Thanksgiving, we've seen this big influx of new cases, a surge of cases in the U.S. Here in Canada, we've seen a surge of cases as well, which begs the question, I'll start with you, CJ. Do you think we could be initially starting the season with hubs, because that would be a much safer way to get the season started in mid-January when we could have another big surge of cases?
Well, I'm not going to tell you nothing is impossible under these circumstances, because clearly hubs have been considered as a potential option. But as of right now, all of the focus, as I understand it, is on playing games in home arenas. I don't think there's any appetite still, despite some of the challenges that we're seeing in a lot of markets where NHL teams play with the spread of the virus, with caseloads going up and the like, to have games be played in hubs. I think players don't have a high taste for it after having to do it in the summertime through the return to play at the end of last season. And I think from the ownership side of things and the league side of things, there's a pretty high cost attached to doing that. And in a season where they already are concerned about the losses as is, with, limited ability to sell tickets, I don't think that this is really being that much considered at this point in time. But if there's anything we learned, is that the league is going to remain flexible. I'm not going to say by any stretch it won't happen. I just don't get the sense right now that it's a front burner conversation point.
Elliotte, your thoughts? Is there any reason to believe? I mean, CJ's making it sound like it's pretty crystal clear. Not crystal clear, but certainly the hope is to start in the home arenas. Anything to lead you to believe differently?
No, I do think there is a contingency plan, as there should be. I mean, they would be dumb if they didn't have one. But I think CJ's right. I think you always follow the money. It's like the old all the president's men Watergate scandal. Go follow the money. And Chris is right. The money says you play in your own rinks if you can. I think the thing is, and I understand why they're not telling us this, how late can we possibly wait before starting on January 13th if they still want to do it? Would they crush training camp even more if they don't get something done this week? I mean, there's no exhibition games being planned. Do you need 10 days, or can you play fewer? I think that's what everyone's kind of wondering here is, how late can you wait before you still try to make January 13th your target date?
Well, they're trying to crush dates too. I should mention here in Canada and the players returning here is that there's still some discussions ongoing about having a modified quarantine where the players would have 7 days where they're fully in quarantine. The next 7, instead of being a full 14-day quarantine, would be where they can go to the practice rink and back, similar to what they had in the summer. And so that's one way to maybe make it a little bit easier for players traveling back here. And of course, this means all these guys are going to be quarantining through Christmas.
It's interesting. Listen, we're on the clock, fellas. You mentioned January 13th. That seems to be the date that everyone's got circled on the calendar. Again, that's 29 days and counting away. Training camps would be in a little more than 2 weeks. So clearly the NHL, the NHLPA, and all of us are on the clock.